Hello everyone, this is Satsandeep, working as Assistant Professor in CSE Department, Vignan Snirulla. Today we are going to see the introductory concepts of data structures. So here we start with the syllabus. So first of all, if you look at the syllabus, it is divided into three parts. In the first part, we are going to see all the fundamental concepts of data structures. That includes the definition of the data structure and the classification of data structures and the abstract data type and different types of data structures, and also different operations that are associated with the data structures and the ADT, and also the time and space complexities. In the second part of the data of our syllabus, we are going to see the searching. So it includes linear search, binary search and Fibonacci search. In the third part of our syllabus, we are going to look at the sorting techniques. Here we are going to see different sorting techniques that includes quick sort, insertion sort, bubble sort and merge sort and other sorting techniques. In today's lecture, we are going to see the fundamentals of the data structures, so which includes the definition of the data structure and its classifications, and also different operations, and also the ADT and the time and space complexities. Before we look at the definition of the data structure, we'll see from what is data. So data is information stored or processed by the computer. So here when you see the data inside the computer, so it can be viewed as text. So the text can be your computer program or any text or even your email that you are writing. So and the numbers can be the variables that are stored for the calculations and all, or a simple Excel file, the numbers that are stored in the Excel file, or the audio that you are going to listen the songs or any voice messages, and the videos can be any videos that can be stored inside the computer. So these are the main classifications of the data inside the computer. When you see the definition of the data structure, so the data structure is particular way of storing or organizing the data inside the computer, so that it can be used efficiently by the computer. So here we will analyze this definition using an example. Suppose you want to store the string. So here you can write a algorithm. So you take the input from the user to enter the string, and it can be stored like character by character, or using the data structure you can use a kind of array which can be stored directly into one particular data item like array. So this is how you can use the data structure in this form. Okay. Now let us see a data structure which is used in the Google Maps, or we can use such kind of data structures in the Google Maps, means kind of applications. So first of all, let us understand the problem here. Here you have home A and home B, and you have a store and a school. So as we are human beings, we can easily visualize the data as follows. Like home A is directly connected to, or from home A you can go to store and as well as school, but from home A you can't go to home B directly. And suppose take your home B, you can directly go to store and you cannot go to any other places. Okay, so as we people are human beings, we are hardwired to analyze the data using this image, but our computer may not do that, cannot do that, because it is not meant for that. So in order to make this possible, means our computer understand this data, we have to represent this in a different way. So let us see different ways of representing this piece of information. So method 1. In method 1, here home A, so from method 1, in method 1 what we have done is, from every place, like say from every location, we'll see what are the other locations that are directly connected. So for example, home A is directly connected to store. From home A you can go to store. So home A you can go to store. From home A you can go to school. So for every connection you are going to make one entry each. So like that you have 8 connections here, so it makes 8 entries. So think about this. this is a very good solution, but of course, but think about this. If you have some 1000 nodes, and in a worst case every node is connected to every other node, so how many number of entries that may happen here? So it like 1000 nodes are connected to the other 999 nodes, means every node is connected to every other 999 nodes. So it is like n minus 1 factorial entries you might have here, so which is very big when it comes to the very big data. So in order to solve this problem in an efficient way, we have a method 2 here. In a method 2, what we have done is, from each location we are going to see what are the direct connections from this location. For example, home A is directly connected to store and school, so you are going to make a single entry that stores both the data items like school and store. So here, so how many number of locations we have here? We have only 4. So we have only 4 entries in the table. So when it comes to an algorithm, like say suppose I want to I was searching for an information like what are the nodes that are directly connected to store. So when you are going to search this table, so it takes a lot of time. In a worst case, it takes n minus 1 factorial times you need to search, means not times, number of times you need to traverse. Next here when it comes n number of, means in a worst case you only have n, okay, n at least n minus 1. Okay, so here this is the main advantage of this one. So by the way, this one is array representation. Method 1 is the array representation, and method 2 is what we call it as the hash table, which we are going to see in the subsequent classes. The data structure talks about how the data is organized inside a computer. So here if you see, the data can be organized in a sequential fashion, like one item after another item, or it can be stored in a random fashion. Okay, it depends upon the type of application that we are going to use for storing the data or anything. And the second one is the way how you are going to retrieve. After storing the data, your job is not done, so you have to retrieve the data more efficiently. So for retrieving the data, again we are going to use the concepts of data structures. How the data is logically related. So here we are going to see the logical relationship between the data. So if you see here, in the first array you have unsorted data. In the second array, if you see here, you are going to sort the array and store the data, so that every data item is logically related to another. So this way it will be more efficient. Now we are going to see the classification of data structure. The classification of data structure, the data structure is classified into primitive and non-primitive data structures. Primitive data structures are the data structures that are built inside the compiler, that are used by the regular programs like say int, float, char and double. So, and the non-primitive data structures, if you see, those are made out of the primitive data structures. Okay, so it is built from using the primitive data structures. So this can be like stacks, queues and all we are going to see. So again, this non-primitive data structure, depending upon the type of axis, so it is divided into linear and non-linear data structure. So when it comes to the linear data structure, so the linear data structure, the data is stored in a linear fashion, one after one each. Okay, so in arrays, linked lists, stacks and queues, you are going to follow the linear data structure. So the second approach is the non-linear data structure. In a non-linear data structure, the data is arranged in a random way. Of course, it is connected with each other so that it can be retrieved. So depending upon the type of applications, we may be going for the linear or non-linear data structures. Here for non-linear data structures, trees and graphs are the examples for non-linear data structures. So now the linear data structures, the examples for the linear data structures are the arrays, linked list and stacks and queues. And for non-linear data structures, you have trees and graphs. So this is the hierarchy of your data structure. Okay, so here we are going to see all these data structures in a fundamentally, and we are going to see all these data structures. So the first data structures we are going to see here is the arrays. Array is the linear data structure, and here the data in the array is stored in a linear fashion. Means after one location you are going to store into the another location. Likewise, location by location you are going to store the data, and also you can retrieve it in a direct way. So suppose you know the index of a particular element, so you are going to retrieve that using the index. So this is one of the very important thing of the array data structure. So the next data structure we are going to see is the linked list. So linked list is the another linear data structure. So here it is a kind of list which is interconnected using the pointers. So here this linked list contains nodes. Every node contains two items, that is data part and link part and associated link part. So here the data part stores the data and link part will store the address of the next data item or next node. So here this gives immense access of you can insert or delete in any part of the this, and also it allows the dynamic memory allocation. So the next data structures we are going to see is the stack. Stack is another linear data structure that allows the last inserted data to come first. So it allows the data in a LIFO manner, last in first out manner. So here the stack is associated with a pointer called as top. So every time you are going to insert an element, you are going to insert at the top, or delete the element, you are going to delete from the top. So you are going to decrease or increase the top value. When the top reaches max, your stack is overflow. So next is the queue. Queue is another linear data structure which have two pointers, that is the front and the rear. So it is like first in first out manner. It allows the data in a first in first out manner. So whatever the data comes first into the queue will be leaving the queue first. So here the data is added to the rear and the data is deleted from the front. Next comes the trees. Tree is a non-linear data structure. Every tree contains a set of nodes and also the links. So if you take a binary tree, a simple binary tree, it contains a root element, a parent, and left child and a right child. So root element is the starting node of the tree. From the root element you are going to traverse down. So if you see here, this tree contains the root and the left and right, and every left child may have it is recursively a tree, like it also may have the left and right child. So next comes the graphs. Graph is another nonlinear data structure. Here the data is arranged in a random way. So every node may be connected to every other nodes. Okay, so there may be a link associated with each and every node. Okay, and this tree data, the graph data structures have many applications that we are going to see in subsequent classes. And here every part of information is stored in a node, and there is a link associated with a node, or more than two links associated with each and every node. Now we are going to see what are the operations that are associated with the data structures. The first operation is the insert. Insert, here we are going to add an element in a particular data structure. Suppose take a student record. So you are going, if a student, a newly admitted student, his record will be added into the list. So by using the insert. So next comes the delete. If a student leaves a particular organization, his or her data has to be removed. So so we can remove by using the delete operation. So the next one is the traversal. So the traversal is nothing but visiting all the data items at least once. So it is like suppose you want to print all the data of all the students. So you are going to start from the first student until the last student. You are going to visit each and every student and print the details. So next comes the searching. Searching, you are going to search for a particular student marks. So you are going to use the search command. So next comes the sorting. Sorting is nothing but you are going to sort all the students according to their marks or according to their date of births. So you are going to use the sort command. Next comes the merging. Merging is nothing but you are going to merge two different lists into one list. Suppose you have CSE A as one particular list and CSE B as one particular list, and you are going to merge these two lists and prepare a common list. So you are going to use the merge command. So these are the basic operations of the data structures. Abstract data type. Abstract data type is like you are going to view the data structure in such a way that so you are going to ignore the implementation details of the data structure. We are going to see what are the operations that can be performed by the data structure, hiding the complexity of the data structure. We see with an example. If you see the stacks or queues, both can be implemented using arrays or linked list. So here we are not going to see how the stacks and queues are implemented. Instead, we are going to see what are the operations that can be performed using stacks and queues, and we will see with a real world example. For example, if you take a car, so we are going to see how when we apply brake, so the car has to stop. So we are not going to check how the brake actually working, what are the mechanisms that helps the brake to stop. So the end user may not be interested towards that. So if you take the C language, so the structures are the main examples of the ADTs. So here abstract data types. So here when you see the structures, so every structure is associated with some operations. Okay, so and these operations can be implemented in different ways. So here the end user is not interested how these operations are implemented, rather he is interested how the operations are performed. Means he will simply call those operations and get his job done instead of and here we are going to hide the complexity of these operations. The next topic we are going to see here is the algorithm. Algorithm is a step-by-step procedure to solve a particular problem. So here the algorithm can be used as a blueprint for a particular program. So when you write an algorithm for a program, so once you write an algorithm, so it can be implemented using any high level language like C or Java or anything. Okay, let us see with an example how we write an algorithm. So we start with a simple example to write to determine a particular number is odd or even. So first of all, you may know how to determine a number is odd or even using your school knowledge. So here if you take a particular number, so you are going to divide that number using 2, and if it yields 0 as a remainder, it is an even number, or else you can say that it is an odd number. So if you see here, so we will write in the first step, we are going to take input the given number from the user, and in the second step, so this step is actually where we apply our logic. So you are going to take that number and you are going to modulo divide that number, and if it is equals to 0, we are going to call it as we are going to print it is a even number, or we are going to go to the else part, so we are going to print it as a odd number. So in the final step we are going to end the program. So this is how we are going to write the logic of a particular program. So once we write this algorithm, we can implement this algorithm using C or C++ or even Python, so any of the language that we gonna prefer. So now after writing this algorithm, we have to understand the efficiency of the algorithm. So in order to understand the efficiency of the algorithm, so here we are in this section, we are going to see what are the different factors that are going to affect the efficiency of a particular algorithm. So the efficiency of a particular algorithm can be calculated in terms of space and time complexities. So first of all, let us understand what is a time complexity. So the time complexity of a particular algorithm is how much time will it take to execute the particular algorithm or execute the particular process. So next, the space complexity is determined by how much space it requires to execute that program. Okay, so we will see these things in a very detailed way. So here when we see the time complexities, the time complexity of an algorithm can be determined by number of instructions that has to be executed for that program. Okay, if you take our previous example, so there are some instructions in that program. So we are going to see each instruction will take some amount of time. So we are going to sum up those times, and this gives us how much time will it take to execute that particular algorithm. And when it comes to the space complexity, it can be determined by two types. So here a space complexity can be like initially you are going to store the program and as well as the variables that initially takes some particular space, and after that while during the execution process, so during the runtime some new variables will be added and the new data will be taken as input that has to be stored dynamically. So this adds up the space complexities. So this is how we are going to determine the time and space complexity. So both time and space complexities are very important for the program. So why? Because suppose think you have a small program that takes a small amount of data and it will be executed with one algorithm, two types of algorithms, and these two types of algorithms may be varying the time complexities in a matter of milliseconds. So think about that when it have the large amount of data as input, so the same two algorithms may be varying in minutes of time. So think about this, if you have search, so your Google will give the results in a point of milliseconds of time. So if you use some different algorithms, it may be given in the minutes, so that it ultimately affect the user experience. Okay, now let us see the efficiency of an algorithm. The efficiency of an algorithm is determined by a function f of n, so where n is the number of elements that algorithm has to be processed. So it means that the number of elements the algorithm must be processed in order to execute the algorithm. So let us see some different examples how this f of n may vary. So let us see the examples how the efficiency of a particular program can be calculated. So the first one is the linear loops. So if you take this particular program or a particular program segment, so here the loop is repeated 1000 times, and each time so the value of I will be incremented by 1. Okay, so here the program block will be executed 1000 times. It means that f of n is nothing but n. Okay, so the I value has to be repeated n times. So n is here 1000. Okay, so this is the linear loops. So next one is the logarithmic loops. So logarithmic loops, if you take this, so initially the I value is 1, in the next iteration I value is 2, and the next iteration the I value is 4, and the next iteration the I value is 8. So likewise 16. So here the I value will be incremented exponentially. So if the I value is incremented exponentially, so the time complexity will be logarithmic. So here f of n is nothing but log n. Okay, so now let us see the next one, which is the nested loops. So nested loops is nothing but a loop inside another loop. So here in this case, if you take the outer loop, in outer loop the I value, so the inner segment of this loop will be executed n times. The inner loop, for the inner loop the segment will be repeated the log n times. So we are going, means for every n times you are going to repeat log n times. So here the time complexity we have to multiply these time complexities. So here it is nothing but n into log n. Okay, suppose if you have two nested loops, two are linear loops. Suppose each one is repeating n times. So your time complexity is nothing but n into n, that is n square. Okay, let us summarize what we have learned today. So here we start with initially the fundamentals of data structures. So that includes the definition of data structures, and we have seen different examples that are associated with the data structure. And next we have seen the classification of data structures, and there we have seen how the data structure is classified, and this classification we have seen different examples of this classification. Next we have seen the operations on data structures. There we have seen the fundamental operations of data structures, and with different examples for each of them. Next we have seen the abstract data type. So how the data abstraction is done and why we need data abstraction. Finally we have seen the time and space complexity of the algorithms. So there we see how important the space and time complexities of an algorithm, and we have seen how this time is determined using different examples. Okay, thank you.